wasn't it either. No, it was not. As Arkansas falls at Texas A&M by a score of 62-56. This is Arkansas basketball recap. I'm Dana Price. That's Jacob Price. I remember a distinct moment in past episodes. First of all, let me just say we're getting this out late. It was a late game. You know that. I got a brand new baby. If you watched this previous episodes, you know that. I don't know, at 8 o'clock, and then it was 10:30, and I was trying to figure out how to get this kid to sleep, and it was a thing. Anyway, and way less people watch when we lose. So if you watch this one, thanks. Anyway, point is, I had a thought. I remember this thought from the last season. I remember this was like a big thing that happened, and it was when I realized, and I said it on the show, that unlike previous years, what Muss had done the last 2 years was that in a tie game, going into the last 2 minutes, I felt like we were going to win that game. I always felt like we were going to win that game, which is not true. In many, many years of watching Arkansas Razorback basketball. And this is now not true again, as it seems that Muss has, and he puts his finger on it. He knows what it is, or he knows what the problem is. I don't know if he has a solution yet. The difference between this team and last year's team and the team before it, when they went on the run, is that this team doesn't know how to win close games. They haven't figured out how to do it. And the previous teams, they did. They won close games. They won a lot of close games. They won a lot of close games in February and in March. And this team is playing well enough to be in a lot of close games, to have a lot of close games. Baylor last night, Mississippi State, Missouri, whatever you want, just go down the list. They're not figuring out how to win those games. And because you're a dozen points from having a whole different record, scattered across 5 games. And that's a problem. I don't know what the answer is, but that does seem like the problem. Solution, I don't know. But the problem is definitely there. This team doesn't win close games. Previous teams did win close games. It's really the big difference in this year and the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that comes down to this team isn't as offensively gifted as some of the teams. They're more defensively gifted than some of the teams. And they struggle to score at times. I mean, that's an obvious thing to say. And when they do break through and they go on these little runs where they seem like, okay, they're clicking a little bit and they score a few possessions in a row, it's generally really not all, it's either off of really aggressive defense and they get some turnovers and get some easy buckets, or they have to execute at a really high level with some
Yeah.
passing. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of like close. I mean, we've talked about this before, but like somebody drives, gets double half, 2.5, almost triple teamed, and then has to make a bounce pass to somebody who's cutting in close quarters with hands all around. And you saw that work a bunch of times, last night. And Walsh was making good cuts, and if he wasn't scoring, he was making another pass that was getting another guy a dunk or something. But all of those passes, I mean, they'll even say like that. A lot of times we got an and one off of them because there's just guys everywhere, and the pass has got to be perfect, and the catch has got to be strong, and then the move has got to be immediate. And when when that's your way of scoring, you can just easily go on a 3-4 minute run of not having those plays executed properly and just go on a little drought. And we've just gone on a lot of droughts
Yeah.
at the wrong 4-minute stretch. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and again, this
I mean,
is another one of those
in those close
games.
games, do you remember like 2 years in a row in those close kind of games like that, they would run this action where bring the it would always be Mason Jones or then it was JD Note, and they bring him over the corner. You stand there next
or
to Muss.
Moody sometimes.
Yeah, but like last year was Note, year before it was Mason Jones most of the time, and then you just get out of the way, and they would go make something happen. And Ricky Council is like second leading scorer in the SEC, even though he's on a little bit of a slump, it seems like, but uh, he's still not he's not built the way that Note and Jones were built.
Well, and mostly because of the three. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the three is changed the game, and the different we don't have a player that you have to get up in their business from 40 feet.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't have, I mean, Nick Smith could be that player, but he's coming just trying to figure it out and get his legs underneath him. But you just can't. First off, it's kind of rare. Like I said, a lot of teams these days have two or three guys that are pretty deadly. They can't all, they don't all have great handles and great driving ability, but most teams have one guy that can shoot and dribble drive a little bit. And that's so advantageous down the stretch when you're trying to put pressure on the defense. The difference between Note bringing the ball up and having those guys have to almost double him way out, and he either can get rid of the ball and then cut, and there's a lot of movement. They have to chase him. They can't. Versus Anthony Black, dude, they don't even have to get their hands up until they can
Yeah.
stand with both feet inside the 3-point line and wait for him to come to them. And then even on, like I said, it's subtle, but even if they do make him give up the ball in the drive and he kicks it out, and then he running away, they can do the thing where they on their help defense, they can just keep an eye on where he's at. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have to chase him the way that, like, if you watch, Devo pace some of those 3-point shooters where it's like if they get rid of the ball, it's not like, okay, now I can go double. It's like I have to face guard this guy everywhere he goes. And it's exhausting for the defense. It completely takes at least one and sometimes one and a half guys like out of the play. And we just don't have that. We've got, I mean, the fact of the matter is defenses are playing a step off of all of our guys, and they
Mm-hmm.
should, and it's like even Devo, who's shooting great, it's set,
Yeah.
he's not shooting great off the dribble or anything. And yeah, I mean, the Steph Curry basketball player is an absolute nightmare to guard
Well,
when
and
you just can't give him
I think it's even different than that. I mean, like Steph Curry made where everyone wants to shoot threes and stuff, but guys like JD Note and Mason Jones are bigger guards, and I mean like stronger, powerful guards that you have to defend at the 3-point line, and they have the handle and the the confidence with the ball. And because you have to guard them close like that, it's hard to not let them get a step. And once they get a step, those guys were both really, really difficult guys not to foul who shot extraordinarily well from the free throw line.
Yeah, that's
That's
another
what it
thing
was.
is that like
I mean,
Note would sometimes finish a 4-minute end of a game like that with 8 free throws.
yeah, he was
He's just looking for it.
so hard not to foul. Um,
But
and
dude, Ricky Council would be that guy. Ricky Council has the body, the
he
moves,
just
the
doesn't have the shot to be that
athleticism,
guy.
the dribble.
They can play off him too much for him to be that
Yeah.
guy.
If he was shooting 37% from 3-point line, he would be unstoppable. They would
Mm-hmm.
have to guard him so close as soon as he caught the ball anywhere. And um they just don't. And really his sweet spot is like 15,
Mm-hmm.
16 feet from the basket. And by the time he gets there, there's three guys there. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
And yeah, we just, I mean, we've saying the same thing we've been saying all year. This team struggles to score. A lot of it is to do with the inefficiency at the 3-point line. Um, because that ripple affects the rest of the defense, and teams are not having to struggle as mightily as we are against some teams. Um, and our guys are getting exhausted down the stretch, and it is unfortunate. Like it just feels like, and like I said, we're not out
Dude,
of it.
well, or you feel like, I mean, Devo misses 3 free throws. That man, that you feel like if he makes those 3 free throws, you might win that game.
And
Um,
well, I felt bad for Devo because that's what I was going to say. This season,
but dude, how tired is he though? Right then, too. I mean, like, how exhausted is he at that by that point?
yeah, I mean, all those guys that were in at the end just played nuts minutes, and especially in that second. Did any of those guys come out the second half?
Yeah.
Like,
If
um,
Walsh fouled out.
well, this season just doesn't. We're not having the magic. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And you can tell Muss is like trying to give opportunities for fate to have something trigger a magical moment, and he's just kind of, it's not even gambling, but he's rolling some dice out there, and he's just coming up snake eyes on a couple of these. Like, we talked about this, so we didn't talk about this on the podcast, but the game before that they lost, that was devastating. He you could tell he had Nick Smith out there, and he was like, it was a close game. We were down. We were trying to make a comeback, and he let Nick Smith play a lot more minutes than anyone thought he would have, instead of playing Walsh and playing like his heavy defensive lineup and trying to win that game off of just crazy turnover, you know, defense. And I definitely don't think if his like wife's life depended on it, he would have played Nick Smith. He probably knew his best chance was to play the guys that had the most chemistry, knew what to do on defense, and had been on a little bit of a roll. But I think, and then I'm just completely, you know, talking out of my butt here, but it seemed to me like he was like, but if Nick Smith, this great game experience, bring us back. We need the offense. If he could hit a couple of shots, have a big moment, this could be a season changing confidence boost for Nick Smith. You know, start to solidify him into the fan base's uh not that no, he's not in their good graces, but you know, like they get to actually see him do something, gives him confidence. In your head, you can see Nick Smith having won that game or like participated in winning that game, and you know, having the coach have
Mm.
faith in him and leaving him
Well,
out there
I
and
told
yelling to
you.
the fans and jumping up, you know, like, and then instead it just didn't work
Yeah.
out. And unfortunately, it
I
has a
told you,
little bit of the
dude.
opposite effect.
The last game he left Nick Smith in to make that three that he took. Not
Yeah.
that particularly. It wasn't drawn up, but like that's the shot he's looking for. It didn't go down. That's fine. Uh, they don't go down sometimes. You know, this game you see Nick Smith plays 4 minutes. You know, and he went away from that, and that's not because Nick
Well,
Smith's not good or anything like that, but like the game's too close, dude. But dude, is the game so? Dude, you're up by 12. Like Jimmy Dykes cursed us by making such a big deal out of that three that they hit at halftime, and it was a big deal, dude. It was a huge deal that we gave that up, and they come back out and they hit 2, 3
three,
more, and it was a huge deal. Like you,
and they hit really well guarded threes in that
yeah,
the first couple of minutes. They just were hitting everything,
it
and
changes the way you go into the locker room. If they don't make that three, dude, it's different, dude. I'm telling you, I'm telling you right now, they don't make that three at halftime, they don't win that game. I'm telling you, they don't.
well, just by the points, they, even if everything else went the same way, when Devo stepped up to that line to shoot those free throws, we'd have been up one instead of down
Yeah.
two. You know
I'm
what I
just
mean?
telling you, dude. Like, it's just more. There's more to it than just 3 points. It's not about that. It's about hope. It's about freaking giving someone hope, man. And like you on the road, you can't do that. Like you're up to 12. You got to let them. They have to go into the locker room feeling like they just got punched in the face. Not like they had a glimmer of a potential comeback. You can't. You just can't do it. Also, can I don't. We don't do this a lot, but what, like there was some officiating stuff that I was like, what in the world, dude? Jordan Walsh was so clearly fouled on a drive to the basket that they called a block that was like unbelievable, no ball, all arm, crazy. Like
Yeah.
that's a bad call. That's a bad missed call. Also, what was up with dude who decides he's gonna like chest butt Nick Smith like 15 seconds after the play. Like, what was that? I can't. I mean, I guess the ref
They
just didn't see it, but like you're getting teed up
no,
for
I
that.
think I think they had plausible like he
Oh, dude, I felt like I when they replayed that, I was like, dude, if a ref is standing right there, you get teed up for that.
but you know what I mean? Like it was like he was walking over to dap up his friend or
But he
something,
wasn't.
and they
Dude,
no,
you're not
and
trying to tell me it wasn't intentional, right?
no, I mean he does it, but the refs see that all the time. And by the way, like on both sides, like you know what I mean. Like if Anthony Black drives in and gets an and one and turns around, if there happens to be a guy trying to get the ball to pass in or something like that guy's getting a shoulder. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they always give
This
those
this
guys
one
shoulders.
seems so obvious. Like, this one didn't seem like cleverly disguised at all. I was just like, what was that? Like the play's like way over.
I think we lost because the one twin hit the other twin in the eye with his towel when he was standing up. Did you see that?
No.
I can't remember which one was which, but they were sitting next to each other on the bench, and one of them had a towel on his knee. And they went to stand up, and he went to grab the towel and flip it over his shoulder, and he just whipped his brother in the eye. Uh, he was like, "What the heck, dude?" He's like, "Oh, sorry, man."
I think, dude,
Yeah, but
I mean, I'll tell you why we lost. I mean, I can tell you if you want to know. It's two things. We shot 16 threes. That's too many. We don't shoot threes well enough to shoot 16. Devo was
mhm.
4 of 10, which is fine. It's 40%, so you can't complain about that. Um, Ricky Council shot three threes, and all three of them sucked. All three of them are unnecessary. Dude, the last three that he took when we were down, what were we down? Were we down three? Were we down two? I don't know. Whatever.
It was crazy.
Is a horrible shot, bro. What are you doing?
He's out of sync, dude. He needs. I don't know what he needs to do to get his mojo back, but I mean, he
That's a
still makes
terrible
like
shot.
a crazy dunk and a crazy play a couple of times a game. But his overall gameplay and on offense is just he looks discombobulated. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like he isn't even like I said, he's had several moments. Like in this game,
Well,
he had the moment.
he was 3 of 12. He had 6 points. 0 for 1 from the free throw line. 0 for 3. I look. I'm not trying to bag. I like Ricky Council a lot. Like I'm just saying. I don't want to. Like, this is weird. I don't care how disrespected you feel. Like I don't really need to see Ricky Council shooting threes.
Well, but I mean, I'm just saying, even on offense, he just looks like he doesn't have that same confidence that he did. Because, like I said, he still will kind of fool you because twice a game he'll get a reverse dunk, or even one time when I can remember when they threw ahead that pass where he gave Black the dunk.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great athletic play to go after and snag that ball
It
because
was
I
a
thought the
great.
other guy was going to get it.
There was a great defensive play by Devo too.
Yeah, all of that was, and Andy had the play with dude one time where he grabbed the ball and then like dribbled it with one hand and then went up and like never touched it with his left and went
Mm-hmm.
reverse. So I mean, he's obviously super talented, but when you look at the totality of the offense, you know, Walsh is doing a lot of heavy lifting with cutting and
Do
passing,
you feel like there's
and
too much ball stoppage when Council gets the ball, everyone like stop like his
he's not participating.
his time of possession with the ball is so long.
Yeah, he's not. That's what I'm saying. Like Black, even if Black doesn't score, even if Davis doesn't score, even if Walsh doesn't score, they're even if the big men don't score, they look more involved in the offense than Council does. You know what I mean? Like Council isn't
Mm-hmm.
getting as many. I don't know. He's just not. He's just not. And he's not getting any as many of the hockey assists. You know what I mean? He's not getting any more as many of the actual assists. Yeah, he just doesn't seem as involved. And I don't know. I hope he can get that out of there because we need him bad. Um, but again, like I said, I mean, it does feel like this season, and I'm not giving up on this season or anything, but we just don't have we haven't had the magical moments. Things haven't gone our way at the end of games. This game, it felt like Muss, you know, he zigged when he should have zagged last time. This time he wasn't going to do that, and he stuck with his original group. And it even had a chance to have a magical like, yeah, this is Devo's team because like we've already had those
Mm-hmm.
kind of those moments where it's like Devo's had some big moments, and Devo had a chance with his aggressive defense turning into opportunities to shoot free throws. He had a couple of good looks at I think he had 2 good looks at 3-pointers within the last 5 minutes that he missed
Mm-hmm.
both of. I mean, not that I'm asking him to make every 3-pointer, but I'm just saying he could have. He had Devo had more opportunities than anyone in the last couple of minutes of that game to be a hero, and they all just came up snake out. It's
Yeah.
just like it just didn't work out. And those are the kind of things that make and break seasons. They just accumulate, and we've just had a bunch of those. This like, whereas the seasons that you look back at before, while we've had moments of struggle, we've also had way more things go our way than this season.
Well,
And
we
this
just want we.
season,
I think that's why I started the show talking about we found ways to win close games, and we're not doing that now. It's not that we weren't in a lot of close games the last 2 years. We were. The games aren't that dissimilar. It's just the finishes that are different. We're not finishing. We're not closing teams out, man. Like, and that's a big deal. Like, because it's the SEC, man. You're gonna play in a lot of close games, and like the teams that know how to win close games, those are the teams that have the bet that you finish in the top of the SEC if you can win close games, because you're going to be into some.
yeah, and this season is starting to really slip away. I mean, we were talking about this a little bit off the podcast, but we're just extremely fortunate that we're basically the only reason, and I mean, the only reason the Hogs are even considered to be in the tournament right now is because of the last 2 years in our recruiting class. If it wasn't for the 2 Elite 8 runs, the the great recruiting class, and starting the season with such high expectations and being in the top 10, we would have, if we were just, if this was Muss's first year and this was a bunch of just players that nobody, they weren't all Americans and first round draft picks, they were just some guys,
Yeah,
and
we'd
you
be
just
on
look
that.
at this.
Yeah, best case scenario, you're like on that first four outline or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, our record's okay, but I'm just saying,
Yeah,
if these guys weren't potential NBA players, and you weren't coming off Elite 8 runs, and there wasn't all these expectations, and you'd never would have been in the top 10 to start, and you probably would have never gotten in the top 25, and
mm,
you you just wouldn't have the cachet, and you wouldn't have the respect that people have. I mean, which is fair. I think, I'm not saying, I mean, it's fair. Like when Muss has struggling seasons and then takes 2 teams to Elite 8 runs, I mean,
yeah,
that's historic. Like that's
yeah.
crazy. That's very difficult to do. And
And
so I
and you
think
have a
that,
guy like, and I think having a guy like Nick Smith, who is coming back, and there's some, we and they're taking into account, like, oh, there's injuries, they're trying to figure it out. This guy's coming back. He's a top, he's a lottery draft pick. Like, is this a team we want in the tournament? And there's a lot of reasons to want him in the tournament, and we're
through our
benefiting from
beginning,
that.
through our initial SEC struggles, people could
I mean,
say,
oh,
well,
dude, I'll tell you this: if Arkansas ends up being like if they end up in a, out in Daytona, and they're like having to do a playing game for the 11 seed, Arkansas is not an 11 seed I want to see. Like, I mean, if I was another team and I drew Arkansas as an 11 seed, I'd be like, oh, I wouldn't like that. I mean, and I don't think we're having a great year, but I still think that Arkansas is going to be a lower seed, probably. Like a double digit seed potentially.
I'm not 100% convinced they're going to even make it.
Well, I was saying, if they make it, you're talking about 10, 11, 12 seed, right? If you're a 5 seed, is Arkansas the 12 seed you want to see? Probably not.
Because this is the thing. I think they are very hesitant to bet against Muss because he did it back to back years where it's like, oh, they're struggling and then they make it and they
Mm-hmm.
make a deep run. And people know that can happen again. And they see that there's enough talent on this team that if they work out if Muss somehow works his magician, skills and figures out how to iron out the problems in this team, they have the talent to go on another run. And people are kind of expecting that almost. And that's a lot of the reason why they want us in the, basically this is a weird position for Arkansas to be in, but you can tell like the national, whoever who's like, they want us in the tournament. They
Mm-hmm.
want Arkansas and Musselman and those guys to be in there. But we're starting to get to the position where, you know, that for a while you could say, well, they're struggling because of Nick Smith's out and Brazil, and now he'll figure it out. And that happened a little bit. Now we're going back down, but we're starting to lose games in ways where it won't be, we're taking it out of the tournament's hands. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
the committee's hands. Like they will not be able to put us in the tournament over A&M and over Mississippi State if they have better overall records and better conference records, which they both do right now. You know what I mean? Or I don't know what's
I
Mississippi
don't think
State's
Mississippi
conference
State
record.
has a. They don't have a better record. They have a better. Let me go over some standings. I'll tell you what I have to do. You have to win three. We have five
I think
games left.
Mississippi State by beating us got a like. I think that we had the same record, didn't we? Or maybe we have the same record, but they have the head-to-head.
I mean, let me
Either
tell you.
way,
Well, it's this. So here's the deal. You have five games left. Arkansas has to win three of them. They have three of them at home. You got to win your home games. So that means you got to beat Florida on Saturday. You've got to beat
Castleton
Georgia. You've got to.
Castleton's out, so that helps.
There's a gift. You better be, if you have a Castleton list Florida, you better win that game at home. So you better win that game, and then you better just wipe the floor with Georgia like everyone has. Then you've got at Tennessee, at Alabama. If you lose those two, which you probably will, you're going to be expected to lose those two. You got a real pivotal game with Kentucky coming in. You better win that game. If they win their home games going forward, they'll make the tournament. But you've got to win 3 out of the next 5 games, and the 3 of the next 5 games are at home. That gets you to 500 in the SEC. That's what you finish at. It's good enough. Like, so at that point, you're looking at an overall record of 20 and 11.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just good enough, dude. It's just good enough.
Yeah,
Based on a couple of good wins. And
like I
then
said, I think we're gonna get in because I think they want us in, and everybody's been talking us up, and so like the incentives on is for people to get us in if we're even close. We're just starting to get to the position where, like I said, if you lose another home
hey,
game,
look, dude, they can't
or if
take
you
they can't take 8 SEC teams, dude. Like, they're gonna take 6, so you better figure it out.
mm-hmm. And I mean, in one way, you could look at those Tennessee and Alabama games. I mean, part of that's kind of a curse, but it's also an opportunity because
It's a huge
you
opportunity, dude.
you
You know
could win
what?
those games,
Well, here's
or
why
one of them.
here's why it's a huge opportunity. It's a huge. You can get a you can get a huge. Wait, what's going on here? My mic's doing something weird. Okay. Um, you can get a huge win against those teams. But also it doesn't. Those losses don't hurt you.
Right.
Like, so as long as you win the 3 games at home, those losses aren't going to hurt you because you're supposed to lose those games. They're on the road against top 10 teams. You're supposed to lose those games, and it helps your RPI, your strength of schedule, all this stuff. Like, all of that goes up even in the loss. And so, like, when you go to Alabama and you go to Tennessee, as long as you take as long as you take care of what you need to do, take care of at home, it's house money at that time because it's really improving your resume no matter what, but can really improve your resume if you're able to figure out a way to win.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you lose to Alabama by 40 or something like that, that could be disadvantageous. But yeah, I agree. I don't really think Arkansas is. They're so good defensively; it's hard to imagine them getting beat that bad. But yeah, I mean, like I said, there's definitely starting to worry me. But you got a baby there.
Yeah. Yeah. Hit that button. Push it in. There you go. Just leave it there. Bottle
Dude,
warmer.
uh, if we lose to Florida at home without Castleton, the thumbnails just we're gonna have to change the thumbnail, and I just want you to put that baby in some Arkansas gear and then get her in a full blown screaming fit and just make that the thumbnail.
That's what I'll have to do. I'll do
Because
it. Well, she's whining right now. Apparently, it's time to eat, and so we'll leave it right there, dude. Big game on Saturday. You got to win on Saturday. If we lose on Saturday, full on panic mode, guys. That's a must win. It's a must win on Saturday. Got to win.
yeah, I mean they're all must wins kind of, but yeah, we're definitely man, dude. I feel worse about the Mississippi State game still than the because it would have been nice to win that game last night, but man, I can't lose at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll be back on Saturday.
All right.
All right, buddy. We'll see you.
Actually, I'm actually going camping this weekend, and it may be late, just so everybody
Or
knows.
just it might be late or just me. We'll see what
It may,
happens.
yeah, just Dan, or it might be, I don't know what the cell phone service will be like. It might be me on my cell phone
We'll
in a
figure it out.
tent.
We'll put out something.
So,
All right, man. We'll see you.
all right, see ya.
Bye.